Talked a lot about your offense. I want to talk about your defense today. How would you kind of assess where it is in the job that Jerry's done with that?
I think we're growing. I think we played really good run defense in the Cincinnati and the San Diego State game. Not as much in the Oklahoma game. But a lot of times you got to also give credit to your opponent. There is an explosive in offense as there is in the country. We held them to 100 yards less than their average, and we didn't stop them at all. I think when you look at the combination of talent that Oklahoma has on the offensive side of the ball, and the wideouts and the running backs and the quarterback is really a special player. You got to kind of give credit to them sometimes. So, we got to improve on our pass defense, but I think our run defense, especially in the first two games, I think even in the San Diego State team, a team that's noted for running the football, we held them to 1.7 and 1.9 yards a carry. So, but we got to play both phases. So we got to improve in the pass defense aspect of things, and it'll be a big challenge this week playing Washington State, who does throw the football. So that's kind of where we are right now.
How much input do you have on the defensive side of the ball?
I meet with those guys every week, just like I've always done. But one of the things we have is I think we have an outstanding defensive staff in like anything, it's not just one person. It's not one person on the offensive side of the ball. It's not one person. You have Jerry, you have Paul Rhodes, who's been a defense coordinator at numerous Power 5 stops and a head coach in a Power 5 school. Don Pelham's been a coordinator before. Vince Ogabasi came from the NFL and does an outstanding job. And then Jason Kafusi has really added a lot of depth to our staff. So when I meet with the staff. So I think we all talk about, what gives these formations and things problems, because I can speak from an offensive perspective. But on game day, I don't weigh in and make calls, and I never have. I never did it, whether I was in the NFL or whether I was at Oregon. I don't chime in and, because that's not my expertise. You hire people because they're the experts at it and they do their job. So
You obviously knew what Jerry could do as a defensive line coach because he'd been with you so long. What made you confident that he would be a good defensive coordinator? When you look at some of the rankings of his total defenses at Duke and UMass, they weren't very good.
I didn't go back to the defense at UMass. What year was that? 94?
That was 94 and 99.
Yeah. I played against them actually in '94, and they were really good. We lost.
They were in '94.
We beat them 14 to 11 in a hell of a defensive battle when I was at New Hampshire. So
they were top 25 then, but at Duke he was.
Yeah, but you don't hire people on the rankings. You hire people because of the type of teachers and the type of scheme, and it was the scheme we ran at Oregon. Az had a real big input when we were at Oregon. It was the same thing. Nick Aliotti was our defensive coordinator. He did an unbelievable job, but our whole staff, whether it was Nick, Don Pelham, Jerry, John Neal, they all contribute. So it's not just one person. It's not like five guys think one way and then one guy says this is what we're going to do. It's a collaborative effort, and it's always been a collaborative effort. So that's always how it's been done. And he had great impact when we were at Oregon, and I've been around him for a long time. He's a hell of a football coach, one of the best I've ever been around.
What concerns you most about the Washington State offense?
Well, I just think, Mike's dedication to throwing the football, so that he's going to throw it no matter what. Whether it's whether it's 12 guys on the line of scrimmage, he doesn't care. He's so dedicated to it, and I think they've run it for so long and done the things that they can make adjustments to whatever they say. And I'm sure in Mike's career, he's been defensed every which way. Where rush 1, rush 11. He's seen it all, and I think he has answers to it all because they do what they do. And that's the one thing about Mike, probably compared to everybody else, and even talk to the air raid guys, is the one pure air raid guy is Mike. And one thing, by doing it that way, Mike has answers for whatever you throw at him. So it's still going to come down to individual battles. How well do we cover their wideouts, and how well does our defensive front generate pressure on their quarterback? How well does their offensive line not allow us to generate pressure? So it's still going to come down to that. But I think their understanding of what they do, because he's dedicated to just doing that, it's impressive. They have the answers because they've seen it all, and he's seen it all. So.
You got I believe you forced 2 turnovers in 3 games. I know part of that's what the other team is doing, but where does that...
Turnovers are huge. When you look at the statistic of winning the turnover battle, not winning the turnover battle. So when you win the turnover battle, your percentages for winning jump. And we've talked about that. We have to create more turnovers on the defensive side of the ball, and we have to prevent them on the offensive side of the ball. And I think that's, every coach will tell you that the turnover battle is a key statistic that everybody looks at immediately after the game. Where were we in turnover takeaway bill? And that's an indication. That and explosive plays, I think, are the 2 big things that we talk about a lot with our players, is limiting their explosives, creating our explosives. limiting our turnovers and creating turnovers for them. So.
How do you generate more turnovers as a defense?
I think we got to get to the ball better, and run to the ball better. And I think gang tackling. We have a turnover circuit every day that our guys work and get at. Sometimes if you get pressure on the quarterback, sometimes the turnover is a byproduct of a good rush. The quarterback doesn't have time to set his feet, so he can't be as accurate with the throw. And if he's not as accurate with the throw, then it's a little bit errant pass. So now it's thrown more to the defensive back than it is to the receiver. So there's a whole different component, and really turnovers itself takes all 11 guys on defense.
I tried to talk to Jerry because I'm writing about Jerry. I was told he was not available. Can you explain your?
I have no policy on that.
You do not.
I don't like any
allow
restrictions.
your
I don't allow.
assistants to
I've
be
never
able-
had that. That's not me.
That's his decision.
It's his. I would imagine. No one asked me about.
But we've been requesting your assistance for 2 seasons now, and not
I-
getting one of them.
Does that have anything to do with me? No.
Okay.
So that's
all
up to
right.
those guys. I don't have any restrictions. I don't have any restrictions on guys. You want to talk to our players? I don't. That's up to them on what they want to do. So I have 0 restrictions.
You made it clear that there's a difference between what you're running here and at Oregon.
Yeah.
But tempo was a big element at Oregon. How important is it with the scheme you're running here?
We're not a big tempo operation. I thought a lot of that comes from depth. At Oregon, you could probably play 9-10 receivers and roll them, and there wasn't a lot of difference between 1 to 9. So I think everybody, we want to play fast. Well, if you play fast, you have enough depth to play fast. You know what I mean? And so when you're a young team like we are, with 87 freshmen and sophomores, the kids are still learning. And we're still getting a lot of those kids up to speed in terms of what we're doing. So it's not fair to throw them in and try to run a whole full offense when they don't know the whole full offense. So tempo has not been a big factor for what we do with this group, just based upon our youth. So that's part of the deal. So.
Your stance on decommits. Do you still recruit kids that say they're no longer committed to UCLA once they're committed?
It depends on we take every individual recruiting situation and thing. Sometimes kids are, they have various reasons, and then you just talk through and you have an open dialogue and a relationship with them about what the reasons are, and you kind of go through that process with those guys in terms of what it is. And then a lot of it is ask them, where are they? Do you still want us to continue to recruit you, or are you in this whole process? But there's not a hard and fast, depending, this equals this. It's always about the individual relationships that the coaching staff has with the player and the coach and the family, and how do you want recruiting to be like? Because I think that the input from the families are huge in terms of how do they want to be recruited, and that's part of the process, is you're learning what they're about and what they're looking for, and hopefully you can provide that.
How would you assess the job that your staff has done with player development since you've been here?
I think our staff does a great job of player development.
Can you give examples?
I've watched a lot of our kids grow as players since they've been here, and you see how they develop and continue to get better on a daily basis. The problem with a young team is that people want it from one day to the next day, and that's not human growth either. Growth happens over time, and I think that's the unfortunate part. When you're playing sports, is it's not going to be from one game to the next game. It may be over the course of a season. I watched our team last year. We were better at the end of the year than we were at the beginning of the year. So that's a great example of development from that aspect. So.
Thank you.
You good? Thanks a lot.